So let me modify the lighting scheme for a second. I do this so that you can see the screen, plus I look better in the shade. Right? All right, today is Ignite Power session number 2 on the database. Notice it says as our sort of subtext to it, it's the key to your business. One of the statements that we're going to focus on today is, in a way, your database is your business. It sounds scary, doesn't it? So as we scroll through the different pages, there's a calendar that sort of shows the typical layout of the Ignite sessions. Those of you that registered should have a link to the calendar, right? Which actually gives you what topics are on which days. If you have it, Sean, I'll send you the link. So today is the database, tomorrow is the open house, then we're going to go into prospecting and talk about some other things. Does anybody have remember yesterday we talked about the daily 10-4? And I know that, we took up your morning yesterday, but in the afternoon you had all that free time to contact people, right? Did anybody contact anybody?
I did.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
How did that work out?
He told me he will come to me if he finds his wife and then try to buy a house.
If he finds a wife, is that
Yeah.
what you said?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because he's single
So-
now, so he's not planning buy a house, but yeah.
Well, you should find him a wife.
I'm
right.
thinking about that.
Yeah, and then you'll have to buy a house. That's an interesting. Hanging out at the, talking to a marriage counselors, talking to wedding planners. How about that? Right?
Yeah.
That would be. Anybody else make any contacts? Yeah.
I actually connected with my mom. Just kind of, caught her up on what was happening in the class, and she's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, her friend's daughter is going to sell and buy." So it's like perfect, 2 leads right there.
That's great.
Yeah, I was like, great. You know who to talk to, you know who to bring it up, and it made me realize that even family, close family, can forget what you're doing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's being top of the mind when they're thinking, when they hear, there's different levels. There's the level when they hear somebody say, I'm thinking about buying a house or selling a house, that they say, oh, you ought to talk to my daughter, she's in real estate. Then there's the level where even if somebody isn't saying, I'm interested in buying or selling a house, they're saying, by the way, you ought to talk to my daughter if you know of anybody, she's in real estate, right?
Yeah.
And when you reach that level, remember, if you could get 10 people that would refer 2 people a year to you, right? In our market, you could live on that, right? Couldn't you? You have to cut back a little, but you could live on it, right? 20 transactions. Yes.
Yeah, so I was went to a floral shop with my mom, and she was getting some stuff, and we just started talking. It was a small family owned, and as it turns out, their building is being sold, and so they need to look for a new place to lease. So although it's not a sale, that could eventually lead to something, so I can help them in that regard.
Right. You could help them, you could do a commercial lease. So what's the message between all of these?
Don't be a secret agent.
Don't be a secret agent. All right, I didn't put my name badge on. I only see one name badge in the room. All right, only Mr. Parker. So I didn't wear mine just to show you what you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? So if we wear a name badge, I've been at the gas station and people have walked over to me and started talking about real estate. All right, and so if we're not a secret agent, you can figure it out. Sign in, grab a handout, and take an evaluation form. All right. But since you're sitting in the back, you have to hand out things to people coming in.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll bring it.
So Anybody add 10 people to did you add people to your database? Is your mom in your database?
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of.
So what the 4 habits are, and what I suggested yesterday is that what you want to do is to develop these as habits so that on an ongoing basis you're talking to people about real estate. And one of the ways of looking at that is conversations. How many conversations do you have on a daily basis with people about real estate? If you were to have 10 conversations a day with people, and you did that 5 days a week, in a year, you would have had 2,500 conversations, and the chances of you doing some business would be very, very good. But in addition to having conversations, we want to build and manage a database. That's what we're going to talk about today. Did you write your mother a handwritten note afterwards?
No, but I did help her cook dinner.
You helped her cook dinner.
So I think that kind of works.
So the concept is that in addition to talking to people, I think there's a handout at the back. Is there one more there? I printed some more, but I don't know where they are. They're in my office. All right.
I've got one at home somewhere.
I have some in my office. I think there's one for you, isn't there, Matthew?
Yeah, he's got it, so
Okay.
we're out if nobody, if
I
somebody else
understand.
shows
All
up.
right. We're fine. So writing, connecting with people, putting them in your database, writing handwritten notes, and previewing 10 homes a week are the 4 habits that we suggest that you develop if you want to make a lot of money in real estate. But it's otherwise optional. Anyone get any appointments? Any appointments? Not yet. At least not for real estate. Okay. So get your head in the game. See if you could be a matchmaker and get all your friends to marry, and then you could be their agent, right? And if they get divorced, then
And
you
I
could
can
be
be
their agent again.
Again.
That's what.
So actually match them to the wrong person.
Match them to the wrong. That's right. Match people to the wrong person, so that they buy a house and then they get divorced and sell their house. This is a practical. So we're on page 2-3. Get your head in the game. And it starts with this statement that your database is your most valuable business asset. This is an area that I find often is overlooked by people in real estate. You know, they're winging it, talking to their friends, talking to their mother, talking to their in-laws. But the idea that we make it a habit that whenever we talk to somebody, whenever we get to know somebody, we get their contact information and put it in a database so that we can use the database to follow up is something that isn't always done, right? One of the things that you'll find about most of the agents that are very productive in real estate is that they're very fastidious about their database. They have a system, they're collecting names, phone numbers, email addresses, and they're following up in a systematic way. To use the analogy of the engine, if your car, it's the engine that drives your business, right? The engine of the real estate business is the database and the systems you have to follow it up. It says in the 3rd paragraph that a database is more than just a list of contacts. It's a living record of all your business relationships, current and professional. Now, I'm going to show you as we're going along an example of the technology that Keller Williams uses. However, you could buy this software on your own. You could buy, there's many competitors. But if I only am talking to 5 or 6 people, I might be able to remember what all my conversations were, when I'm going to follow up with them. Well, I probably wouldn't do that very well either. But do you understand? I have difficulty with 5 people remembering what I said to them, when I'm supposed to talk to them, and scheduling it in an effective way, right? If all I'm doing is trying to remember, I need to talk to Joe in 2 weeks, to remember that I'm going to do that. And even if I remember I'm going to talk to Joe in 2 weeks, I don't necessarily remember what I'm supposed to talk to him about, right? And so what a customer relationship management system will do for you, a CRM, a customer relationship management system will do for you, it'll provide a vehicle where you can take notes, set reminders, launch campaigns, and use an organized system for following up. Surveys that have been done by the National Association of Realtors of real estate agents found that 67% of all their business was obtained in the follow-up. So for example, you talk to your mother and your mother says, oh yes, I know somebody. That's something that happens somewhat immediately. But a lot of times people are going to say, no, I don't know of anybody right now. And if we let it go, waiting for them to remember us when they hear of somebody buying, selling, or investing in real estate, knowing that, of course, they'll call us, right? Isn't that right? How could they forget? That system is less likely to produce results. So a good customer relationship management system becomes a tool to nurture and manage those relationships. A powerful database produces leads. I mentioned yesterday, I was about to say last year, it seems like a long time ago, that one of the guys that was interviewed in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Jim Drews, who was at my alma mater, Century 21, sold his practice, his real estate practice. Have you ever heard of a doctor or a lawyer selling their practice? Right? What is it that they're selling? Well, what would a dentist sell if they were selling their practice? Their book of business, right? You understand most of the equipment you see at a dentist's office is leased. I don't know if you realize that, right? Most of the equipment you see at a medical office is leased, right? They might own it, but that's probably not what they're selling, right? The building is leased, the equipment is leased, the employees are on a salary, right? Everything is a liability. You understand that? When you're looking at the business, everything that you see is a liability. The big asset is the patients that they have, right? Their book of business. So the question is, do you have one? And what would it be worth, right? If you were to analyze, if you were going to retire and sell your real estate practice to somebody else right now, how much could you get for it? How much would people pay to have a copy of your database? Tony DiCello, who is one of the MAPS coaches, MAPS stands for Mega Agent Productivity Systems, one of the coaching systems of Keller Williams. In 7 years in a row, Tony closed 100 contacts that originated from his database of 1,100 names. I mean, by the way, one of the things that Keller Williams is very good at is tracking numbers, and most of the top agents in Keller Williams are in one of our coaching systems where you're tracking. And one of the new numbers that we found is that people that have a database that are using it effectively are getting, in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it was 2 for every 12, which is close to 1 for every 6, close to that. Right now, we're revising, I'm not personally involved in the revision, but the Millionaire Real Estate Agent is being revised, and the new number is 1 for every 10. Right? So what we're finding is that people that are doing an effective job with their database are closing 1 transaction for every 10 people that's in it. Right? So if you wanted to close 10 transactions, how many people would you need? The right 100, right? Do you understand? And if you had 1,000 people that you were having conversations with and following up with in a systemized way, you could have 100 contracts, right? So what my point is that it doesn't take huge numbers. I have agents that come to me and they say, I've imported all my contacts, all my business contacts. I worked at this startup company and I worked at this technology company, and I have 1,400 people in my database, and they're not doing any business because there's too many people for them to actually talk to. And most of the people that they've imported, they just had names and phone numbers and email address, but no relationship of any sort, right? So we're talking about building the relationship. It says he communicated with his database 30 to 35 times a year. That number, by the way, is somewhat magical. The Brian Buffini, Joe Stump group use a program called the 33 Touch. At Keller Williams, we also have a program called the 33 Touch, which is 33 touches with somebody in 1 year. And I'm going to go through what those different systems are, but at Keller Williams, we have a systemized approach to contacting people and following up. And by the way, if you would like to read about it, does anybody know where we've published these systems? Does anybody have an idea? Colleen, I think, does.
The one thing, is it in that book?
What's the book you have with you?
Oh, I have The Millionaire.
The Millionaire Real Estate Agents, right. On page 146, it talks about the 8x8 and then goes into the 33, giving examples. Right. So, yes, question.
Yeah, so you think I have some software we can?
We have software too, right? But you could, software, the problem with software, see, first of all, let's go through this. It says he communicated 30 to 35 times a year, which consisted of 2 mailings and 1 phone call every month. At an average of $5,000 per closing, he was in a cheap market. He received about $500,000 in commissions each year, or $3,500,000 over 7 years. Now, in our market, you understand if you did 100 deals, you'd be doing a little better than 500,000, right? I'm just saying, you'd be doing a little bit better than that. Now, one of the mistakes that many agents make is when they want to do a follow-up system, to them that means launching an email campaign. All right, when people say, do you have software? And the answer is yes. The software, many agents are thinking, well, I'll just put them on a drip email campaign. That's not what he was doing. That's also not what they're talking about in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Right? So, for example, 2 mailings, what would be an example of something you could mail to somebody?
Market update.
Market update. So you could have a newsletter once a month, right? Could you have a monthly newsletter about what's going on in the market, right? So is there something else you could do for example, this month is April, right? So did anything special happen in April? Easter, right? So let's see, next month is May. Does anything happen in May?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day? What's Mother's Day. So June, anything happen in June? Father's Day. Graduation. How about July? Anything happen in July? 4th of July. Do you see should I go through the whole year? Or is it possible for us to have something that we could, like a personal, like a card, not an email that says Happy Mother's Day? Isn't that kind of lame if you send your mother an email, right? I know that people say, well, that's what I do every year. Would a handwritten note be better? Would a card be better, right? So people are much more likely. Emails are very good for communicating information, but not so good at developing a relationship. Tony continues to be perplexed, so am I, by the number of agents who do not have a database. I'm perplexed too. The top 2 excuses is too much time and too expensive. Anybody feel that way? Too much time?
Too much time.
Too much time?
Yeah.
Too expensive? I just haven't. How many people have a database that you're proud of? That you would want to, right? If we were going to do a class on databases, you would want to be a speaker so you could show people what yours looks like. Right? That's why you're here, right? So too much time, what I've found, it does take, there's a learning curve. Most database programs are database programs, right? Which means that's a particular kind of software which is sometimes not intuitive in the way that it is used, right? And I'll show you an example of one. But it is a learning curve involved in mastering it. And many of us are impatient, isn't that right, if we're in real estate? Have you ever heard that instant gratification takes too long? Ever heard that from a real estate agent, right? You know, I don't want to wait for that. So it takes a while to master it, but then it saves you time. And we'll talk about expense a little bit. When you work your database well, it's the foundation of your business. You don't even need money. You can email. I'm going to skip that part. There are no excuses. I believe phone calls and putting things in the real mail is more effective, but an email newsletter wouldn't hurt. Some people prefer that. Should we have a conversation with people as to how they like to be communicated with? Right. Because our preferred method may not be theirs. Right? Isn't that right? And so some people will respond to the old school something in the mail. Some people would rather it be email or online. What are we going to do? We're going to learn the 4 laws of lead generation. We're going to feed the database, set up touch campaigns. Doesn't that sound like fun? For systematic communication, and classify and qualify leads. That's it. So if you brought your database with you, does everybody have their database with you? For how many people your database is what's in your phone? All right, and your email account and your cell phone is the database. Right? For many people, that's it. If I ask a lot of real estate agents, what software do you use to manage your database? They look at me like cows watching a train go by. Is sort of the look I get, right? You know, because they don't have one. A cell phone, some note cards. We're going to talk about that. A value proposition. We talked about that. Building your database is something you do for the entirety of your career. It doesn't have to be complicated. I mentioned if you're in Keller Williams, there's this great video of Gary Keller and his box of index cards. You know, I made this statement once in a class. I went through one class that I had some years ago. I went through it asking who's under 30, right? And some people would raise their hands, and I was warning the people that were under 30 that their system might be shocked by what I was going to say, right? And then how many people are between 30 and 40, and people would raise their hands, and I'd say, you're probably okay, but some of you may have difficulty with this. How many people are over 40, and people would raise their hands, and I'd say, you're probably safe, but we're going to need you to be vigilant if we have to resuscitate the people under 30, right? You know, and with all that buildup, my statement was, we used to sell real estate without computers, cell phones, or GPS. Isn't it? There was a time when we used to sell real estate without computers. And one young lady at the front, not her, but another one, raised her hand and said, what about the MLS? Huh? What about that? It was a book, right? Now, if you're under 30, a book is sort of like a blog that people have printed out, right? That's sort of what it looks like. They would drop off books every week. So is it possible to sell real estate without a sophisticated database program? It's possible, right? But the tools will help us be more successful. We have eEdge, which I'm going to show you, which is done by a company called Market Leader. And if you took out your credit card, Market Leader would sell you a similar program. What are some of the other companies that offer customer relationship management systems for real estate agents? Buffini has Referral Maker. I have agents that use that. Any others? Have you ever heard of Top Producer? Some people have heard of Top Producer. There's Realty Juggler. There's iXact, I-X-A-C-T. There's eAgent, Online Agent. There are hundreds of them, actually, if you were to search. Which one's the best system? What's the best customer relationship management? What?
The one you use.
The one you use is the best system. So we have our affirmation. By the way, does anybody here say affirmations? One? We have one person? Well, then this will be fun. Let's all stand up. Come on. This will be fun. This is the audience participation to keep people from falling asleep. So our affirmation of the day is, we're going to do this 3 times. Is that okay? Can you do this? All right. Everybody ready? This will be hard. You're going to say it aloud too. Maybe I wasn't clear about that. I add 10 people to my database every day, and I do it with ease. That was 1. Number 2, I add 10 people to my database every day, and I do it with ease. Number 3, I add 10 people to my database every day, and I do it with ease. Give yourself a round of applause. All right. Why do we do? Go ahead and sit down, unless you're happy to stand. Why do we do things like that? To make you feel uncomfortable?
For your subconscious.
For our subconscious? Does anybody maybe it's just me, but sometimes I find myself thinking negative thoughts. I don't know, maybe it's just me. And sometimes I think about why something won't work and what's not going to work out and why. I used to consider this just good planning. Isn't that just good planning, right? Thinking of all the reasons why something isn't going to work out. Could it be more effective if I think of how it's going to work out, right? So if I have a positive concept in my mind that I'm going to be adding people to my database and I'm going to do it easily, if I put that little piece of software in my brain in the morning, I might be more effective. One of the things that we suggest that you do, and one of the things that many top agents do, is they have affirmations. Sometimes they put it on the mirror, sometimes they put it on the rearview mirror of their car, something that they say every day. Leverage eEdge. eEdge is the system that we use, but I went through a bunch of them that you could use instead. Market Leader is the company that does eEdge. Let me see if I can find this. Oh, that was interesting. Let me go back. All right. So this is just an example of what a good system ought to look like. As I said, if you wanted to buy this, whenever people are watching the screen, it slows down. It's a magic thing. The watched pot never boils, isn't that what they say? All right. So at Keller Williams, we use a system called eEdge, which is powered by Market Leader. It has a lot of similarities to Top Producer, eAgent, Online Agent, Realty Juggler, Isaac, to Buffini's group. And it goes from leads to contacts to marketing, email. There's a transaction coordination and action plans. And what is a lead? Or is it lead, or is it pronounced leads? A lead, I would classify a lead as somebody that you need to follow up with. So what's the difference between a lead and a contact, right? A lead is somebody that you need to follow up with. So when your mother said the names of two people that were interested in buying or selling real estate, that's a lead, right? So in our dashboard, that would be something you would, in our system, you would put them in the database as a lead. So when you click on the dashboard, they would be sitting up here as something that you need to do right away. Right? By the way, there is a mobile optimized version of the site. So on your mobile phone, you could look at what your leads are. So we want the leads in front of our nose every day. Unread messages, I get them someplace else. It's not as bad as it looks. And reminders, and this goes for the next week. So a reminder would be something that we would need to do with the person. So a contact, and whether or not you do this using our system or another one, you're going to see they're all very similar. So a status would be, are they lead? Are they hot, active, inactive, or has it been somebody that you've already sold the property to? 20 to 23% of the real estate business is done by repeat business, right? When you take repeat and referral business together, you're looking at almost half of the real estate business, right? Repeat and referral. So we want to follow up. By the way, do you understand that over 70% of the people say that they would use the same agent again if they were going to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, but only about 22% actually do. Right? It's in the high 70s that say they would, but only 22% actually do. Why is there a big difference between the percentage of people that say they would use their real estate agent again, but in fact do not? Does anybody have a theory as to why there could be such a difference? Because they don't stay in contact. The last time they saw the real estate agent was in the rear view mirror at the title company as the agent was waving to them as they drove away, right? Last contact, right? And the agent hasn't sent them anything ever since, hasn't followed, or it's done, right? You understand? It's Miller time, isn't that right? Right? It's time to relax. And they haven't heard from the agent again. And when it's time for them to sell their home, have they been hearing from people, other agents in the neighborhood maybe, that are working that neighborhood, but they haven't heard from the agent that they were happy with before? And sometimes when they try to find the agent has changed offices 3, 4, 5 times, right? They don't know where they work anymore. They don't know their contact information. Somebody else is doing a better job of following up. Agents that are successful do a great job of following up with past clients. Right? So if we leave somebody as a lead, it means it's going to be in our system. You should be able to coordinate, to categorize people by time frame. One of the questions you should be asking yourself when you look at your database is who in my database is most likely to be the next buyer or seller or investor in real estate? Of all the people that I'm in contact with, who is the one most likely to be doing business with me next? So that would be a categorization. After that, by the way, you could search by this. So all the people that are active now, 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6+, just looking, you understand it? We should prioritize. How did I do that? We should prioritize what we're doing with people, right? As to what their sense of urgency is, so we know how often to follow up with them. You put in their phone number, their email address, gender, the company, their title, birthday. Would it be good to send them a birthday greeting?
Sure.
Or even call them to wish them a happy birthday? Or send them a text? How would we find somebody's birthday? What possible way could we do that?
Facebook.
Facebook? Do they have birthdays on
Yep.
Facebook? Really?
You don't block it.
If you don't.
Yeah.
So birthdays, so Facebook would tell us that it's their birthday. Now we could type in happy birthday in Facebook, right? How many of those do people get?
Lots.
Lots.
Yeah.
We could go get a picture, an image that said happy birthday that was sort of fun and post that picture on their birthday on Facebook. Would that be better?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Not as many people
What?
do that. Well, you stand out a little bit because not as many.
Not as many people do that. How about a video, are there videos, are there any YouTube videos
You can make your own.
involving, you can make your own too. That would be even, the more personal we make it, the more effective it's going to be. Could we call the person on the phone? Because are they being bombarded on Facebook? Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Yes.
If you sent them a text message, can you send a picture through text messaging?
Yes.
Yes, really. So you could send them a happy birthday. How many people are sending them happy birthday images to their phone? Not very many. Not very many. Could you call them, and if they're old and they talk rather than text, you could call them and wish them a happy birthday. Could you mail them something that says happy birthday? How many people do that? Not very many. Are they more, remember what we want to be is top of mind awareness. And one of the touches, you understand, we're going to need 33, right? So now if there's a couple, assuming they weren't born on the same day, there's 2 birthdays, isn't that right? Their purchase anniversary, if you helped them buy a house, would it be good to put in the day that you helped them buy the house? Would it be a nice thing to call them up and say, you know, it's been 3 years since you bought that house. Just want to know how it's going, right? When do you plan on buying another one? By the way, I learned to ask people, so when do you plan on selling? It's a simple question. So when do you plan on selling, right? Some people would say, never, I'm going to die in this house. And I'd say, that's great. So who's the next of kin? Who should I be talking to? All right, so when that, who's going to handle your affair? Referral information. So if mom referred 2 people to us, we might want to type that in. Do you understand if we have 100 people in our database, we might not always remember that Nancy from the hair salon is the one who gave us the name and phone number, right? So we might want to put that in. We could put in comments as to who we talk, when we talk to them, what we talked about, and it'll keep it in an order, their address, whether it's mailing or not, so we could mail them something. A secondary details would be like a spouse. We have a campaign for them to set up listing alerts and other things like that. Can you understand this is just a basic contact database, right? You'll find that this one's not that different. What I'm going to do, let me just pick somebody just to look at. So here's a contact, and by the way, don't write down their phone number. They're a real estate agent, right? I'm not showing. Isn't that what you do when somebody's showing you your account? You write down the phone number so you can call them up. This is just an agent, so it's not going to help. So there's a phone number. Down at the bottom, there is this system, and other systems will do that. It'll keep a list of all emails that were sent and whether or not they opened them or clicked on them. All right. Now, by the way, you can get free add-ons to Gmail that will do that too. Right? There's Yesware. There's HubSpot has one. There's several of them. Streak is another one that'll tell you if somebody opened the emails. I could add a reminder. I could add a campaign, and I could put them in a group. They're in a group already. So I could send people something based upon the group they're in. Right. Can you see why we might want to have some system that would allow us to move leads into contacts? Marketing, once we've got somebody in as a contact, marketing would mean we could create marketing materials. A campaign is a systematized follow-up system with people. And then these are some different websites. A system that allows you to manage, what makes it a CRM, a customer relationship management system, is the ability to add contacts, the ability to add reminders, the ability to group people, and the ability to launch a campaign. Yes?
You were talking a minute ago about contacts, leads versus contacts. So a simple way to describe a contact might be to say someone you've had real-time communication with.
A lead is somebody that you need to contact. Once you've contacted them, they're not a lead anymore. Once you've spoken to them or talked to them in person, they're now a contact.
Okay.
Right? Yes.
So after contact, one person told me she will sell the house for August and buy the new one.
Right.
So if I put the schedule there, then what time am I supposed to contact them again?
That's a good question. So somebody says they're going to sell in August. When should you contact them again?
Stay in contact.
Stay in contact. So my rule of thumb was, if somebody said 4 weeks, I would in 2 be talking to them. If they said 3 months, I would probably follow up with them each month. For what could you do between now and then that would allow you to stay in contact that would be valuable to them? Newsletter. Note card. What else? What?
Drip campaign.
A drip campaign. What's the one thing that people that are thinking of selling their house want to know?
What their house is worth.
What their house is worth. Now, I wouldn't send them a CMA, but does everybody remember we talked about CMA? That stands for Country Music Awards? No, that's not right. That's the market analysis. Many agents will say, well, I'll send them a CMA, but the problem with that is that they may just be collecting CMAs from other agents, right? And also, without the ability to explain it, it may be difficult for them to understand. So I have a weird login to the MLS. I know those of you that are saying, gee, what does that look like? So I'm just going to pick somebody. I have special powers. Is everybody familiar with RPR?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, they estimate how much you value.
Right. It estimates how much is the value. So let's say I were to pick a house.
Sometimes it's accurate, sometimes no accurate.
Right. That's true. 1504. Let me just, I think that's the right one. So I'm just picking, I picked the wrong number. So this is actually just, I didn't actually hit the address right on by my guess. But one of the reports that I could do, so if I put in a property's address, one of the reports I could do is called a market activity report. And what a market activity report does, it's sort of a dump of everything that's happened like in the last 30 days, active, pending. And if you click on this, it'll show you a sample of what one looks like. So if you put in somebody's address, it will show you it'll give you a nice report which you could email to somebody as a PDF or print it out. And it makes a really nice looking report. And all you have to do is click on market activity report. And it doesn't tell them what the price of their home is, but it shows them everything that's been happening. Could we also just set up an alert in the MLS that lets them know if anything in their neighborhood is active, pending, or closed, right? And do it every week. And you understand in the MLS you could set up an auto email on a weekly basis. So every week they would get an email. Every month you could give them a more detailed report. Would they be interested in knowing what's going on with properties that are in the market, right? So the idea is we want to follow up. If somebody says, call me in 4 weeks, call them in 2, right? Because if you call them in 4, they might say, oh, well, yeah, last week we already did it. What?
If you call 4 weeks, other people get in, other agent get in.
Right, if you wait too long, you don't want them to forget that they've been talking to you. Right? Their bosses may have a friend in real estate, right? 4 laws of lead generation. I hate laws. Don't you hate that? It sounds like rules. Real estate agents, don't we hate rules? Isn't that right? Isn't that why we're in real estate?
For other questions?
Sure.
He said he wants to sell the August. I say sale is easy, buy is not easy. So
Right.
I believe him to talk to other property you want. So I think find it first.
So finding him a property first, that's a different discussion. How do you buy and how do you sell? Because he can't buy without selling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No,
No.
he still can buy one.
Without selling?
Yeah.
Well, then he has a
difficult.
buffer.
Yeah.
All right, so what are the 4 laws? One is build a database. To start with, what we call METs. METs are people that you have already met, also known as your sphere of influence. We covered that last. These are people that you already know. It's critical that everyone, remember you've learned this, that every one of your METs knows and continues to be reminded that you are a real estate agent. By the way, if you're new, this is a bigger challenge because people will know you from whatever it is you've been doing for the last 5 or 10 years. Isn't that right? And so they see you as an engineer, they see you as a medical equipment representative, they see you as something else, right? And in order for you to break through that, you're going to have to contact them on a regular basis. What I found was what would be the one thing that you could communicate with them that would make them think of you as a real estate agent more than whatever it was you were doing.
You talk about real estate.
Talk about real estate, right? Specifically, I would suggest talking about a house. So I'm assuming you're previewing, right? You're looking at homes. If you see, like I had a listing one time, and by the way, for this to work, it doesn't have to be your listing. It was in 95136. It's what's known as the Arcadias. It was a 2-story house, 5 bedrooms, 4 upstairs with a master bath and a hall bath, 1 bedroom downstairs with a full bath, plus a half bath for guests to use. This is the perfect in-law arrangement, right? Grandma's downstairs, the family's upstairs, she's got her own bathroom, there's a half bath so that when people come over, they're not using grandma's bathroom. The kids are all upstairs so she doesn't have to hear them. Because they're stairs, she can't get up to bug you. Isn't that right? Isn't that the advantage of having the stairs? So what I would do is I would tell people, they would say, so how's the real estate business? Isn't that the question? Right? And I'd say, great, I just listed this great home for somebody that's interested in, and that has a large family that's looking to move in, a mother-in-law, it's a perfect, who do you know? Or how about this, of the people you know, who's most likely to be looking to move into something bigger? Now, do you understand by saying, rather than saying, do you know anyone, because they could say no, but who of the people you do know, who's most likely to be looking to move into something bigger, to move up, they have to think about that, right? And people will think about it and they'll say, well, I hear, do you think that they've heard from people at work that the mother-in-law is moving in with them? Do you think they might have heard that, right? And so they might say, well, I heard a guy at work. Or how about this, if you see a great inexpensive home, in relatively speaking in our market, a starter home, would that be a good I just saw this great home, it would be perfect for somebody that's a first-time home buyer. Who do you know that's thinking about buying their first home, right? That, when you start talking about actual houses, in people's mind, you move from being an engineer or whatever it was you were doing to being a real estate agent. Real estate agents look at homes, don't they, and talk about them. You want your Mets to have you as top of the mind, so have it Mets. Let's move to that. So we talked about Mets a lot yesterday. Have it Mets are people that are in the general public as well as target groups. What would be a target group?
Move-up buyers, first-time home buyers.
First-time home buyers. Does everyone, a typical agent wants to be everything to everybody, everywhere, at all time. Right? I've seen real estate agents' websites where they're essentially saying, I don't care if it's a mobile home or a luxury home, I'm your guy. Right? You understand? I do everything. I'll do loans, I'll help you with your taxes, I'm a notary, I do luxury properties, I specialize in mobile homes, do you understand, by the time you've gone through that whole list, what would you do if you went to your doctor because you're having a heart problem, and the doctor is scheduling you and he's saying, hearts, let's see, Monday is my foot day, Tuesday I deliver babies, Wednesday I'm a dermatologist, heart is on Thursday, right? Would you go to that doctor? How about the lawyer? You're getting divorced, and the lawyer says, "Well, I'm representing a burglar tomorrow, and I'm doing a corporate stock trade on." Right? You're like, no, right? Wouldn't you want somebody that specializes in what it is that you're interested in? Isn't that right? The laser beam is more powerful than the floodlight, right? And a lot of real estate agents want to be the floodlight because they don't want to lose anyone, right? If you don't say I'm a luxury home agent, then what if they are a luxury home buyer? They won't want to talk to you. And I don't want to not mention the mobile homes because I would sell one of those too. Do you understand? Your website becomes too confusing. Most real estate agent websites are like Swiss Army knives, right? Do they have scissors? Yeah, it's not very good scissors, right? So would it be easier for us to start with first-time home buyers? Are there different loan programs for them? Do they have different issues? Right? Is there a different price range in different areas that you could specialize in? By the way, one of the advantages of first-time home buyers is you're planting the seeds for future business. Right? I farmed, my two areas were Blossom Valley. I started with Blossom Valley because there's a lot of turnover. 95123 was the part of Blossom Valley. And then I moved to Almaden. And first of all, one time in the 20 years I was working in Almaden, did a first-time home buyer buy a house through me. Do you understand? Because Almaden, I had the cheapest listing in Almaden at one time. And I sold it to a first-time home buyer. People that are in Almaden are not first-time home buyers, right? Do you understand? If you're going to bet, not first-time. And all of the sellers moved away, right? People don't sell in Almaden to buy in Silver Creek or Saratoga. Right, they sell in Almaden to leave Santa Clara County, right? They're going to Arizona, to live next to a golf course. Do you understand? There's no second transaction. One guy, I sold 4 homes that he listed, that he owned. One of them was in Almaden. He called me from Grass Valley, and he said, "Hey, Mike, how's it going? I was having some friends over, and I was telling them what a great real estate agent you were." And I'm like, Mark, you're in Grass Valley. Do you still have your list of friends in Almaden, right? Could you call them and tell, right? Did you understand they're gone? No second transaction, right? People that sell and leave, no second transaction. First-time home buyers. Are they going to sell that home as soon as they can? Right? Is that generally the idea? When are they going to sell their home and move into something bigger? As soon as they can. So the turnover is a lot higher than in the higher end market. Plus they're here. Their family, their friends, their coworkers are here. And they're going to sell and buy again. Right? Do you understand? This is one of the problems with starting with the luxury market. The turnover is lower. There's no two transactions, right? They sell and they leave. And there's a lot of competition. Could you create a first-time home buyer website? Register a URL for first-time home buyers. Talk about loan programs for first-time home buyers. Would you need to know about FHA? If you're selling homes in Almaden, you don't need to know about FHA, right? Do you understand? You don't need to know. I never did an FHA loan. Never had a transaction with an FHA loan because none of the properties I sold would qualify for an FHA loan. But if you're doing first-time home buyers, would you need to know about FHA loans?
Yes.
Right. So do you understand that the people that we haven't met, which is the largest group of people, we need to segment them. What would be another niche? First-time home buyers, what would be another niche?
New to the area?
New to the area, people that are relocating, how would you find them?
I don't know.
Does the company they work for know that they're relocating?
Of course.
Human resources departments might know that people are relocating. What would be another niche?
They have a company, like a relocation company, you under the name there.
There are relocation companies, I'm not going to get into that. You could register for one, and they generally charge a 35% referral fee.
35%.
35%, that's all. Right, a nice, easy referral fee. So most of the big companies, if you're at Samsung, they have a relocation company. But if you go down the hierarchy to companies that aren't as big, they generally do not have relocation companies. The big third-party buyout relocation companies, you can't really compete with them. But there are a lot of small companies that people are moving around. What would be another niche besides relocation? Could it be a geographic area?
We could do condos, townhouses.
Condos and townhomes is it different selling a condo or a townhouse? Those of you that have been in the business a while, have you ever seen an agent just totally screw up a deal because they don't know about condos and townhomes? Have you ever seen that? Right? They don't know about litigation, they don't know about the bylaws, they don't know what's going on. Right? So you could specialize in that. That would be a different niche. What? Yes.
That's a question. You say relocation. So usually relocation program is good for customer.
Some relocation companies will give you people, they'll have leads of people that are being relocated.
No, it's good for like clients. They have good benefits from relocation.
The third party, the big relocation companies will actually, they do what's called a buyout, where they'll buy, let's say they're moving from Boston, they'll buy the home, the relocation company will buy the home so that the buyer has cash. And then when they come here, they'll help them with closing costs and transportation and other things. There's some tax advantages to letting the third party relocation company do it rather than the employer doing it directly. And so but they control the client. And generally they don't have their own agents here. Agents can sign up for it, but it's a big referral fee.
Yeah, I have a client, he from other state,
Yeah.
and he told me maybe this program no good if you.
There are hundreds of these relocation companies, and most businesses, some businesses have formal programs, some do not.
Can I have a quick question?
Sure.
Because you mentioned a referral fee. So is it legal to give referral fee to non-licensed people in California, or you can?
Should I turn off my microphone? Is it legal to pay a referral fee to non-licensed people? In the business, we call it a finder's fee. If you were to Google search that question, let's say you were to Google search, can I pay a referral fee to an unlicensed person in
I did
California,
yesterday.
you're going to find an article by First Tuesday, among other things. And in that article, First Tuesday is a legal publication that specializes in real estate. And in that article, you're going to find reference to a California court case where they basically ruled that you could, and it didn't matter how you arranged it, as you could pay it to an unlicensed person as long as all they did was refer somebody and they weren't involved in negotiation. The Business and Professions Code says you have to have a license to solicit buyers or sellers of real estate or to negotiate for buying and selling of real estate. There's nothing in it that says you can't refer people and be paid a fee. But you should, that's the legal answer, right? But there's some practical things in getting your broker to go along with that. All right, so if we're going to, we're talking about, everybody understands the people that we know, we ought to contact them on a regular systematic basis to remind them that we're in real estate. We ought to go out and meet more people and add them to the database. And then we ought to decide what is our target groups. And we could change them over time, but we ought to begin by identifying a niche that we want to work. It could be a demographic niche. Agents sometimes work with people that speak the same language. It could be a recreational niche. I've had agents, as I mentioned, that worked with people that were runners, people that were, one agent that I coached, she's into quilting and does 3 or 4 transactions every year from people from her quilting group. One of the people interviewed in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, who is a Century 21 agent in this area, who made the cut for being a millionaire real estate agent. Essentially, all of her business is referral from the church she goes to. And she really works the church. She donated a bus to the church, which does have her name on it, right? For them to use for the youth programs. She's all over the church, right? But you understand, you don't have to be everything to everybody. You might want to pick a target group for the people you don't know. You can add later, but it'll be more effective than saying, I'm willing to sell real estate to anyone, anywhere, anyhow, I don't care, right? That doesn't work very well. So once we've identified our target groups, and we're going to talk more about that later, the step 2 is feed it every day. Every time you get a new name, you add them to your database immediately. Every time you get a new name, you should add them to your database immediately. Again, the car analogy, I don't know. Should I do that? I don't know. The more contact information you have that is accurate, the easier it is to move on to laws 2 and 3. Now, what we have, remember our scripts that we talked about yesterday? Yeah, some of you have fond memories. Some of you are happy about them. Using the script that best suits, remember in Power Up Session 1, Rev Up, we went through the different scripts. One of them was, most of the scripts talk about, do you know anybody who's thinking of buying, selling in real estate? And so basically what we're doing is calling for referrals. And this is a sample script. You don't know me. Your name was given to me by a close friend of both of ours. And she said that I should be giving you a call. Is right now a good time to talk for a couple of minutes? So as you know, your Nancy just, so how do you know Nancy? Just out of curiosity? Well, anyhow, this is just a sample script for you to use if somebody gives you a referral. And I would, by the way, practice this rather than just picking up the phone and calling the referral and starting to chat with them. You might want to take a look at this script so that you have an idea of what you might want to say.
I'm sorry, what page was that on?
212. Chris Heller, and one of the fun things is actually included one of his handwritten notes, who's now the CEO. To this day, he communicates systematically with this entire database using a 33-touch campaign. Each of his 2,400 contacts receives 2 to 3 handwritten notes a year which means he sends an average of 25 notes a day. Wow, that seems like a lot of handwritten notes. 25 a day. Could you, my handwriting is not very good. I had an assistant who handwrote the notes. Could you, now if they know your handwriting, you should probably do it. But is it possible, one of the questions, those of you that have read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I know Colleen has her book, so what are the 3 L's? Do you remember that? Does anybody know what the 3 L's are from The Millionaire Real Estate Agent? It's leads,
Oh, yeah,
listings, and the third is leverage.
yeah.
And leverage means getting help. So one of the tools we go through in the coaching program is something called the 135, which is a business planning tool. And one of the questions that we will ask on all of our strategies is, who's going to do this? Does it have to be you? Does everything have to be you? Right. 25 notes a day. By the way, of these, he was the #1 agent in the Keller Williams system at one point. And I would write 25 notes a day. Wouldn't you write 25 notes a day if you were doing hundreds of transactions? Press release. There's a sample press release here. Will the San Jose Mercury print your press release?
Probably, you pay them.
The answer is no.
Oh.
They're not going to do it. Right? They just won't do it. Can we find, is there anybody that will take our press release and publish it?
Can you know how
Um,
desperate they are?
What?
With the Business Journal?
The Business Journal, maybe.
What about the little local residential papers?
The little local residential papers might do that.
Is it PR News or something?
PR Web.
PR Web.
What you're going to find is a free press release. How about that? That sounds like this. So press release, distribution, press release, text, service, format, press release monkey, press release distribution services. The best paid and free press releases, PR Newswire. Press releases still matter, but not for the reason you think. Distribution. So the thing about press releases is that they're indexed by Google. One of the things that I've created is, does everybody know what a Google alert is? How many people know what a Google alert is? So you can go to Google and you could type in something that says San Jose real estate market. How about that? San Jose real estate market. And sometimes at the bottom, it'll allow us to just do, who wrote that? I don't know. So if we just copy this and we go to Google Alerts, and we were to just monitor the web for interesting new content. By the way, I think I already have this as I put it in. You need to put in California sometimes because there's also a San Jose someplace else. And if you create this alert, what it's going to do is Google's going to show you every day what it would find if you were running that search every day. And one of the things that you're going to find that Google finds, you'll find that Google finds are press releases. So many agents that whenever they list a house, they submit a press release to all of, there's some free and some paid, and which means that people that are, if you write the press release with keywords, that people that are doing searches for properties in San Jose, homes for sale in San Jose, things like that, will see your press release, right? And when you list a house, when you sell a house, you could, if you're doing a home buying seminar, you could write a press release. So we don't get a lot of these published as easily, but in terms of a printed paper, but you can do a lot with press releases, and we have a sample of one. If you change real estate offices, could you have a press release?
Yeah. If you become a real estate
if you could become, I have some in my office. Do you know where which office is mine? All right, see if you can find it. I'm not sure. Anyhow, let's go on to step 3. Do we need to take a break? We're going to be done at 11. Can we just power through? You guys can last till 11? Okay. Communicate in a systematic way. What we mean by that is a touch campaign. And we've highlighted this over here, which is a touch campaign delivers useful information to your contacts through a variety of methods: emails, phone calls, handwritten notes, face-to-face business, and keeps you in the top of mind. Ben Kinney, who is a mega agent, that means he's like 800 pounds, something like that. Well, maybe that's not right. But he's a mega agent with Keller Williams. Ben Kinney founded a blogging platform for real estate. I don't know if you've ever heard of Active Rain. Anybody ever heard of Active Rain? And which was bought by Trulia, by the way, recently, which was bought by Zillow. Did you everybody keeping up on that? I hear they're going to change. They haven't decided what their new name is going to be. But it's either Zulia or Trillo. I'm just making this up, by the way. Maybe Trillo. I think I'm going for Trillo. But he also developed a program called the Internet Marketing Specialist Designation, which is called IMSD, which is a program that you can enroll in and become and receive a designation in internet marketing. And Ben Kinney developed something which he called, and he says he regrets this, the 10 days of pain, right? And I've heard he speaks a lot at Keller Williams events. In fact, he's coming to town. Those of you that are interested, if you send me an email, Ben Kinney's coming to the area to speak. And his 10 days of pain was when somebody would register on his website, he did something with them once a day for 10 days. Now, the way he explains it, the pain wasn't to the other person. It was painful for him and his staff to do something once a day for 10 days. So do you think that people that are registering on one website are registering on another website and maybe another according to the National Association of Realtors, the average is 8 websites that a typical buyer registers on. And mostly what people get are just listings but if you register on Ben Kinney's website, you'll see what the 10 days of pain. By the way, that system is incorporated into the Keller Williams marketing plan, the 10 days of pain. Yes?
So you're saying that the typical buyer who is actively looking for a home typically registers on 8 to 10 websites?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
8 websites. Isn't that true? You might as well, right? That way you won't miss anything, right? And so that's a conversion system. Now, we're going to talk about the different. Now, what Ben Kinney would do is if somebody registers on his website, he would do the 10 days of pain. But putting that aside, it would then be followed up with something called an 8x8. And 8x8 came from an experiment, for lack of a better word, done by a company called Hobbs Herder. How many people heard of Hobbs Herder? Only Michael, because he's been to Keller Williams stuff. And Diana's heard of Hobbs Herder is a very expensive advertising agency that specializes in real estate. It's a very expensive system. And what Hobbs Herder did is they took an area and they made up a fictitious real estate agent. In other words, the photo of the agent they got from stock photographs. The phone number didn't work. The email didn't work. The website didn't go anywhere. And what they did is they mailed once a week for 8 weeks a marketing piece to the area with this fictitious real estate agent's contact information and Hobbs Herder material. And at the end of 8 weeks, they called people in the area and they did a survey asking them who's the #1 real estate agent in your area, and the fake agent won, right? The agent who did not exist won because he was the only one people could think of because they had gotten something once a week for 8 weeks. Right? Is everybody, do you understand that if you can't, so the way the system would work is, let's say you met somebody, you would put them into your database and you would do something once a week for 8 weeks. What would be a good first thing to do? How about a handwritten note? All right, I'm going to give you, I'll go through a quick, want to hear a quick 8x8? By the way, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent actually has some sample 8x8s, and in Keller Williams we have some 8x8 campaigns. Let me give you a quick, once a week, 8 week, what we could do as a touch campaign. Would you like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's say it's a buyer. Week 1, we send them a handwritten note, right? And the handwritten note would be, it was great talking to you the other day, look forward to working with you. If you have any questions, give me a call. Include a couple business cards because they might have a friend. Week 2, phone call. What would be the script of the phone call? Anybody have an idea?
Did you get the card?
Did you get my handwritten note? Right? Just following up, did you get my handwritten note? Great. Know anybody that's interested in, are you know, just finding out where you're at in the process. So that's week 2. Week 3 would be an item of value. What would be an item of value you could send to a buyer?
Checklist, a moving checklist.
A moving checklist? What would be another item of value? All right, let's,
Contractors.
a list of contractors. Are buyers interested in interest rates?
Tax information.
Tax information, loan information. All right, so week 1 was a handwritten note. Week 2 was a phone call. Week 3 was an item of value. Week 4 would be another phone call. What would we say on the phone call?
Did you get my flyer?
Did you get my item of value?
Right.
Week 5 would be another item of value. We rattled off a bunch of them. Are there tips getting ready to buy a home, things you ought to do? Right?
I'm sorry, what was week 5, Mike?
Another item of value. Tips for buying a home. Do you think if you created a Google alert tips for buying a home, you would find a lot of things you might be able to put together? That was week 5, was another item of value. Week 6 would be a phone call. What would we say in the phone call?
Did you get it?
Did you get my item of value? Week 7 would be another item of value. And then week 8 would be another phone call. If it was a seller, want to know what the seller one's going to look like? Week 1 would be a handwritten note. Week 2 would be a phone call. Week 3, an item of value. Week 4, a phone call. Week 5, an item of value. Week 6, a phone call. 7, item of value. 8, a phone call. Want to hear what it would be for investors? Week 1, you get the idea, right? Now, if we did that, would they know who we were and that we were in real estate? That's called an 8x8 campaign. Once we've done that, you understand, we need to become top of mind. So when somebody is talking about buying or selling a real estate, if somebody says, I came from a company that farmed heavily. And I was in a restaurant and the guy was using my notepad, the waiter was using my notepad to write down orders, right? And he basically was complaining to me because he said, at our house we get something from you every day. Right, now I really wasn't it wasn't every day, but it was pretty much every week, right? You know, every day. Why do you do that? Right? He said. Now he's holding my notepad and he's writing down orders at this restaurant. And I said, how many real estate agents can you name? And he said, besides you? And I said, yeah, besides me. And he said, well, you, right? He's the only real estate agent I could name. Ah, right. I said, that's why I send you something every day. Right? Now, it really wasn't every day, it was every week. But you get the idea. How many real estate agents can somebody name? If you've contacted them once a week for 8 weeks and somebody says, can you name a real estate agent? You know a good real estate agent, the chances of them mentioning your name have gone up dramatically. Isn't that true? Mm-hmm. Now, so the 8x8 is used to create the top of mind awareness. Once we've done that, we move into a 33 touch. So we need 33. Let's see how we could do this. So could we have a monthly newsletter? Right, that would be 12. Do you want me to go through what event is happening every month again, right? From Easter to Mother's Day. So there could be a card or something related to whatever the holiday is for that particular month. That would be another 12, wouldn't it? So we're now up to 24, right? So we have there's birthdays, right, that we could throw in. So we're up to 26, right? With that, how about, should we call them every once in a while? Maybe at least once a quarter. So 4 phone calls would make it 30. If we called them once a month, that would be 12, and we're over the 33 that we would need. Yes?
Does the KW system database handle all of that? Like if I make a phone call, the 30, okay, it tracks and tells me when I need a call?
Yes.
Oh.
Just to show you, I do other classes on this. So this is what our system would look like. And so one of the buttons is manage and create campaigns. And by the way, Top Producer and most of the software, customer relationship management software, they call them campaigns or action plans or something like that. And what you're given is, if we look at create a new campaign, what it's going to show you is there's a 12 direct. A 12 direct is what we're doing with our target group, right? So a 12 direct is a campaign for people we do not know to get them to contact us. That's once a month. 33 touch, here's a 33 touch, and a 8x8 for buyers.
And then you can customize it, right?
Right. My suggestion would be, see where it says create a custom campaign? If you click on it, the two general types of campaigns are either interval or date. An 8x8 is an interval campaign. So if I talk to somebody and I put them in the database and I launch the 8x8, it means from that day that I put them in the database, day 1 would be the phone call, 1 week later would be the item of value, 1 week later would be, right, so it goes through that system. A date campaign would be a 33 touch, because if we're doing things on Mother's Day and Father's Day and Easter, those are date based. Plus, if we have a newsletter for what's going on in April in real estate, that would be date based. So 33 touch is date based, 8x8 is an interval. Yes.
So, 8x8, after 8x8, do 33.
Right. You do the 8x8 first, and then that once a week for 8 weeks means they know who you are, and then to maintain the relationship, to sustain the relationship. 8x8 is to create the awareness. To sustain it, you go into a 33 touch. And what you can do, and what I recommend, and what I cover in my coaching program, is how to create a custom one that works for you. So when I clicked on create a custom 8x8, so up here, it would start with, I could name it. So I could say, I'm just going to call it a custom 8x8. And I would then go on to review and configure steps. So I would click on edit. Yeah, and so I didn't save the name of it, but I click on add a step. It gives me a choice. I want to send an email. Do I want to make it an activity, or do I want it to be a direct mail? So, and if we only do email, it will not be as effective. The activity could be, how about connecting with them on social media? Could we, one of the things you can do on Facebook, does everybody understand you can create lists in Facebook? I don't know if you know that. You can create a list of friends. So you could have a group in Facebook that would be your likely to do business with. By the way, you can call the group anything you want. People don't know what the name of the group they're in, right? They don't know what the list is called. So your A list, your top list, your prospect list, and what you can do is when you log into Facebook, if you click on that list, which will be under the friends, you'll see all of the posts from people on that list. So you can like, share, comment on the things they're posting. You don't actually have to post stuff, right? Do you understand? Somebody takes a picture of their sushi lunch, right? You can, isn't that what, you can like, share, and comment on it. Could that be an activity? Should we, if we're doing one of these touch campaigns, should an activity be to regularly communicate with people on social media? Would that be one of the activities? So we can create an activity. Let's say we create this activity. We could call it what we want to. We could call it Facebook, and we could say read posts, right? Like, share, and comment. And when we click on save and continue, notice it says 7 days after the first one. So now we could say, well, I want to do this right away, so we could change that to 1 day, and we could create our own custom campaign, right? There are some pre-configured ones, but a custom one would be a little more effective. So we start with an 8x8, once a week for 8 weeks. It should not just be email. My suggestion when I'm coaching people is at the most 2 emails a month, preferably only 1. The rest should be something else, right? Even if it's a text message, but something actually mailed to them, a communication on Facebook. I'm old enough that I was in real estate before people were using, sounds terrible, emails and websites a lot. Right? And I can remember talking to somebody, and I gave them my business card, and they looked at the card and they handed it back to me and they said, put down your website, right? Because I had a website, but my business cards, I didn't want to print new business cards. So I was giving away the ones I had, right? And it didn't have my website. I also remember the first time when I was trying to get somebody's contact information and they simply said, I'm on Facebook. They didn't give me. I hired an agent who I never spoke to on the phone. I never emailed her anything. All of our communication occurred on Facebook until she showed up at the office for the interview. It's a new word, right? Isn't that right? So could somebody who's active on Facebook, could that be your system of communication with them? Right? Could you message them? There's people that never send me an email, they send me Facebook messages.
I think that's part of when you're talking about, what's the best form of communication. You have to find out how they communicate.
Right.
And that's how you have to.
How would you find out how they communicate?
You ask that question.
You'd have to
That's
ask
how
that
they
question.
communicate with you.
All right. By the way, some years ago, the California Association of Realtors did a survey of buyers and sellers and real estate agents. And they meshed it all together. They do it every year. I haven't read the most recent one. And one of the interesting things was the 7%, when they asked buyers and sellers, how do you want to communicate with your real estate agent? 7% of them said Twitter direct messaging. 7%. How many real estate agents in California used Twitter direct messaging in that survey? The answer was 0. Not one. Right? Not one. Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't want to do Twitter, right? I've had agents say, I don't want to do Facebook, right? I don't want to do Facebook. I don't want to do LinkedIn. I want to call them on the phone and talk to them. Do you understand? If you're talking to the wrong person, that's not how they want to communicate with you. They want you to text them. They want you to message them. They want you to communicate through the method. Should we use our method of communication or theirs? We should use theirs. So, an 8x8, what is it? 8 touches in 8 weeks. I've sort of beaten that to death. Personal visits. What do they call that in Buffini? Not Popeye, but pop by. Is it possible in some cases that we could drop by and say hello and talk to them in person? Should we make appointments to see them maybe at a Starbucks or something? I'm sorry, Pete's. So when do you use it to connect with somebody for the first time? Everyone you know or meet should go on an 8x8 first. A 33 touch is to nurture your relationships. And 14 mailings, letters, and cards, 8 thank you or thinking of you notes, 3 phone calls minimum, 4 personal observances, and 4 holiday cards is one system that you could use. And again, if you read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, you're going to see some samples of these, and we have some as well. As Diana Kokoska, who's one of our MAPS coaches, many real estate agents don't make the phone calls. Well, not sure why that is. Well, maybe I do know why. But the biggest mistake I see agents doing is they'll find a 33-touch email-only campaign. And then they launch the email and they say, well, I'm communicating with my database. Isn't that right? All right. And notice those 8x8 I went through involved every week a phone call. All right. That would be most effective. Offer items of value. I don't know who said that. Great customer service, buying a home. There's a video here. Okay. Oh, buying a home and selling a home, sections of the website. One of the ththings that here's some uncover market information to use as an item of value. Medium home price, average home price. One of the things that we do at Keller, I do this, by the way, every month for the agents that are in my coaching program. Well, I'll show you what I do. So one of the marketing materials that we have is something called, I wanted to go to My Save Designs. So if you're in my coaching program, let's see, what's the most recent one I did? March, TMIRE, April, this month in real estate, this must be it. So I do this for the agents that are in the coaching program. It's called This Month in Real Estate, April 2015, Santa Clara County edition. I do this because there's videos of me teaching people how to do this. But I have to admit, after teaching people for years how to do this, only about 2 people have actually learned how to do it and do it themselves. Maybe 3. So what I do every month is I make a This Month in Real Estate Santa Clara County edition. By the way, did you know that in March we had a 48% increase in the number of sales over February? Some people say, well, isn't that true every March? Not necessarily, but there's ways of doing that. It has the median price. It has what's going on in mortgage rates. And by the way, there is an email version. I basically created this as an image, and I show agents how you could send it out as an email, or you can make it a postcard. It gives you something that you could talk about. So one of our items of value, should we be studying what's going on in the real estate market? One of the agents that recently retired, which I find hard to believe, what he would do is every morning he would look and see what's the inventory, how many homes are on the market every day, and he did this over years, and sometimes he would come into the office and say, did you see the inventory? It went up 800 homes, it went down. How many of you are on the pulse of what's going on sufficient that you could say, did the inventory go up today or up in the last week, or did it go down? So that would be items of value. There's an example of an 8x8 campaign, another one with scripts. I'm not going to read it to you because I've already done that. Automate with eEdge. I've showed you how you could use one of the ones that already exist. By the way, you can modify any of the pieces. You can create a custom one if you want. These are newsletters, e-newsletters, and things that you could send. We have a training guide on how to do this. Social media. If you're like most people and use social media every day, you can think of it as a 365 touch system. On average, people spend hours on Facebook every day. Hours, right? It's not in minutes, it's in hours.
Yeah.
So, by the way, should you post real estate stuff?
Yes.
All right, lots of it? Like every day? No. There are some people that would suggest that whether or not, I've known agents that do well with social media who didn't even post that they were getting into real estate. The ratio could be as high as 50 to 1, in 50 being what you would, the content, non-real estate posts to one real estate post. What would you do if a friend of yours joined a network marketing company and every day posted something about it? Every day. What?
Annoying.
You find it annoying. Is it easy to stop seeing somebody's posts in Facebook?
Yep.
You just hover over that little arrow and you click on and you say hide posts from that person. What's the chance that they're ever going to undo that check? Never. All right. So if you annoy people, Facebook, let me just talk about social media a little bit. Facebook is like the cocktail party, right? So let's say your friends are having a party at their home and you show up and you've got your name badge on, right? And you have business cards in one pocket, brochures on a house that you're holding open in your other pocket, and you see a group of people and they're talking politics. And without even waiting for there to be a pause, you get into the conversation and you say, hi, my name's Mike. I'm with Keller Williams Realty. Here's my card. Everybody take my card. Who do you know that's interested in buying or selling real estate? All right. And then you go over to another group and they're talking about sports and you interrupt them and you start handing out do you understand? Pretty soon you're not going to be invited to any more parties. Isn't that right? Right? Pretty soon, no more parties. By the way, if you were to engage in a conversation, might it come up as to what do you do for a living?
Yes.
Right? Might you make some comment that people might ask, so what do you do? Oh, you seem to know about that, right? But it's a lead in social media is a conversation. And capturing the lead is continuing the conversation. Does everybody understand? Now, by the way, if Facebook is the cocktail party at a friend's house, LinkedIn is the Chamber of Commerce mixer, right? That's LinkedIn. If you go to the Chamber of Commerce mixer, is it okay to have your name badge on?
Yeah.
Business cards in your pocket,
Right.
brochures about what you do, right? It's a totally different environment. What's Twitter known for? Now, LinkedIn is business, Facebook is social. What's Twitter known for?
Popeyes. I think that'd be more Popeyes because it's quick. Just
Twitter is news. Twitter is news. So if you see, for example, down the street here, a building caught on fire, Twitter, people were tweeting about it right away. Twitter is news. By the way, all of these are better sometimes for listening than they are talking. Right? Instagram is for photos. Come on, I know that some of you are I know you know it. Instagram is for photos. Snapchat. By the way, millennials. I posted something in our site about what marketing to millennials. 7 social media groups that millennials use. 7. She mentioned, the one that Diana mentioned, by the way, is the one that nobody got even the millennials didn't come up with this, which is Snapchat. It's one of the top 7 social media used by millennials. I mentioned LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. That's 4. What would be 3 others? What? Instagram? Is that what you said?
Yeah, you already said that. It's
Or Instagram, that's 5.
Google Plus.
Pinterest,
Pinterest, yeah.
the 6th. No. Millennials, Google Plus?
Uh, Tumblr.
Tumblr. Congratulations. Tumblr. Now, if you're thinking, I haven't heard of several of those, if you're going to market to millennials, would you want to be in the social media platforms that they're using? Right? Not that hard. Right? By the way, if you were to ask Google real estate marketing, Instagram, you're going to find videos, articles, right? Could you find somebody who already knows what Vine is and Snapchat that might help you with it? Vine is another one. So social media, that's, by the way, in some ways, this is easier to communicate than email. People get overwhelmed with email, their spam filters, they don't read all their email, but messaging on these systems, you're more likely to get hurt. Isn't that right? So part of your strategy should include social media. Scan your daily news feed. I would, by the way, use the system of creating lists so that you can look at a list. Right? In fact, I don't know if you wanted to, I don't know, should I do that? So start a discussion on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+. So what's Google+ for? And the answer is it's for SEO, which stands for, I'll show you an example. Summerlin Real Estate. Summerlin is a suburb of Nevada. Near Summerlin is a suburb of Las Vegas. Search engine optimization. What I did, and now I'm logged into my Google account, and I'm searching for Summerlin Real Estate, and look at that. See that picture? That's Lori Ballin, who is a real estate agent at Keller Williams. See that guy's picture? That's Albie Voss, who works at the same office. Why are they, isn't that kind of cool that they're showing up on the first page of my search results in Summerlin? Now, if I log out of Google and I do the same search, neither of them show up in the search results.
They pay money.
No, they don't pay money. Google Plus is why. Google Plus, Google.
They're in your Google Plus?
Yes. So Google Plus, there was a cartoon I saw that really, there's this little guy crying and this great big guy standing behind him, and the little guy had a little sign that said Google Plus, and the big guy had a sign that said Google on him, and the little guy's crying saying, "Nobody loves me." And the big guy says, "Don't worry, I will make them." Right? And the way Google is making people love Google Plus is what you're seeing on the screen. What would it be worth to you when your friends and potential clients do a Google search that they see your picture and your link on the first page of Google results? What would that be worth? Right? Sounds like that. I think that would be worth a lot, wouldn't it? And the only way you're going to achieve that is through using Google+. And what Google is doing is rewarding people that use Google+ by putting them where Google has the power in search results. Search results. Right? See that? Now, if I logged out and did the same search, you would not be seeing Lori Ballin or Albie Voss come up. It's only because they're in my Google+. So one of the things I share with people is that your contact database, if it's an eEdge, at some point you download it and import it into your Google Contacts and spend some time on Google+ connecting with everybody that's on Google+ that's in your contacts. This is why. Right? That means that a friend of yours or a potential client is doing a search for San Jose real estate, and your picture shows up in their search results. Huh?
Wait a second, Mike, do they have to, you said these people are in your Google Plus, so did you need to do another step to make this happen?
I connected with them on Google+. It was a little bit time consuming, but I have thousands of people. I have thousands of people. I spent some time doing this, and if you do a search, if you're in my Google+ and you do a search involving the things that I'm ranking for, the ones that I'm focused on, you're going to see results that have my picture on it too.
Oh, okay, so then you're saying a friend or a client who has this set up, so when they randomly look.
Everybody that has a Google account has Google+, whether you want it or not. Right? Whether you want it or not. Google is not making it optional because they're trying to, their goal is to make Google+ something that people will use. And the hammer that they have is that Google controls most searches, right? That's their hammer. And if you learn how to use Google+, Google will reward you in other people's search results. Because what Google will do is if they're in your contact database, and Google will show you things that they're doing under the idea that you might be interested in what your friends are posting, and they'll show your friends what you're posting. Could you start a group in Facebook? Could you join groups? LinkedIn, Google Plus, on Twitter. And here's just some examples. Homestay on the market for an average of 40 days in Denver. When no one is buying or selling last month. These are just some sample posts, right? Law 4. So what was step 1 was feed the database, right? Build the database, feed the database every day, connect in a systematic way, and now we're servicing leads. What this means is that once somebody responds to us through our database, we want to contact them, classify and qualify, and put them on a campaign. So contact means time is of the essence. One study done by the National Association of Realtors, by the way, this is for people that are saying, I would like to look at a home, or I'm interested in seeing a home. Do you think that they might click on more than one real estate agent search? They have 8 on average. Over 75% of the time, according to the National Association of Realtors, they work with the buyer, the agent who responded first. 75% of all buyers work with the agent that responded first when they clicked on, I want to see this house. Does that make sense? I'm surprised it's not a higher percentage, right? Except for 25% of the agents must be really bad. But time is of the essence. If you're working with buyers and you get an internet lead, responding to them right away is the most significant thing as to whether or not you're going to end up with them. The first time you buy, it should be by phone if they provide you with the phone number. One of the things that we have in our eEdge system, our customer relationship management system, is when you get a lead, your phone, by the way, will buzz because you've got a lead, and we have something called the initial contact wizard. And what that is that if they give you a phone number, first of all, it says, hey, you ought to call them because most of the time they're going to work with the people that calls them back first. There's a script for what to say when you call them. If they don't leave a phone number, there's an email to send people. Ask them how do they prefer to stay in touch, and then use that. Act fast with website leads. I've already discussed that. This is 72% of the success of turning a web contact if a like is made in the first hour. After that, it drops. So according to the NAR, and they have Realtor.com, 72% success if it's a web lead if you respond within the first hour. After 4 hours, it drops to 29%. By the way, the NAR found on Realtor.com that almost 50%, 48% of all leads generated through Realtor.com, the agent did not respond in 24 hours. Almost half of the leads, nobody was responding in the first try. So people were paying money to have their Realtor.com lead, up there, and then were ignoring the leads that came through. Classify this. Remember, I went through this a little bit on our eEdge. Are they a buyer, a seller, or a buyer and a seller? Groups. These are some sample groups. And notice how the groups, my definition of how you would group people is you would create a group if it would change how or what you're communicating with them. So for example, I've had people say, well, people I know from, people that are in my Yahoo account, should I make them a group? And I'm like, well, are you going to say something special to people that have that were in your Yahoo contact database that you wouldn't say to somebody else? Well, no. Then we don't need to create a group called that. But then some people will say, well, church, I have a list of people from my church. Well, is it possible that your message to people that go to your church might be a different message than people that don't go to your church? Might you actually say different words and share different things with that group? That's possible. So if it modifies the message or the manner of communication, then you would create a group. If it doesn't, notice these groups would be 33 touch, 8x8 buyer, 8x8 seller, because then we could just add people to the group and they're on the campaign. Does that make sense? First-time home buyers, you might communicate differently with first-time home buyers, right? Listings that you would showcase would be ones that were less expensive. New to the area, rentals for sale, how about investors, multifamily? Investors, you might communicate with them differently than you would communicate with first-time home buyers, right? So a group involves the content or the manner in which you're going to contact them. Is it possible that we might have a group for email only? Are there people that we may not end up with their phone numbers and we don't know their physical address? So the only way we can communicate with them is by email, so we would need an 8x8 and a 33 touch campaign that only involves email. If we have their mailing address and they're a high potential contact, we might want to mail them something, and that might be a group, right? Because we have their physical address and we're going to mail them something. Qualify means to prioritize them. So you're looking to buy a home, eh? When are you wanting to make a move? Have you been pre-approved by a lender? Those are qualifying questions. And by the way, that would fall under status. Somebody who says, well, I'm interested in buying a home. When do you plan on buying a home? Oh, I don't know. You know, when we find something nice. Have you been pre-approved by a lender? No, not yet. Well, you ought to do that. Well, we're not going to do that till we find something we really like. You understand? This is not a hot lead. Because if you found them a house tomorrow, they would not be able to buy it. Right? Is that right?
Right.
Right?
So when you like this, so how you handle?
How do I handle them?
Yeah.
Well, the conversation, we're going to talk about working with buyers, but the conversation would be, well, are you serious about buying a home? Are you serious about buying a home?
Yes,
Are you looking to get the best deal possible when you buy a home?
of course.
Of course you are. So do you understand that in this market, in order to get the best deal possible, you have to be ready when the house comes on the market to make an offer? Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And by being pre-approved, it's going to save you tens of thousands of dollars, at least. You understand, if I'm a seller and I have two offers and one of them, they're both for the same amount of money, and one is a pre-approved buyer and the other one is not pre-approved, but we're going to get pre-approved, you can trust us. Which offer am I going to take? The pre-approved one. When would I gamble on the non-pre-approved buyer? They would have to offer more. A little bit more or a whole lot more they would have to offer before I'd even consider working with them. All right. So let's say they're waiting. Do you know what happens if interest rates go up 1%? It cuts your purchasing power by 10%. So as we wait, what's happening to prices in San Jose? Are they going up or down?
Oh, yeah.
They're going up.
Yes.
What's happening to rent in San Jose? Is it going up or down?
Up.
Up. What's probably going to happen to interest rates? Are they going to go down or up?
We're gonna go up.
They're probably going to go up. So every month you wait, you're going to be paying more. You're going to have less because your rent is still high. And as interest rates tick up, it erodes your buying power. You do want to get the best deal possible. Right? Now may be the time to do that. Right?
Are you ready?
So we want to classify people as to whether or not they're hot, active, or inactive. And so basically this is your homework assignment. You should go through your contacts. You should have a database. You should classify them. Are they buyer or seller? Are they hot, active, inactive? And then a campaign. And starting with an 8x8. Doesn't that sound like fun? Aim high, become a database master. Remember, one of the things we suggest is that you add 10 people to your database every day. You need to get into the habit of immediately adding new contacts and their comments to your database. every time you talk to somebody, you should type into the comment section what you talked about. You should also create a reminder. Every time you talk to somebody, you ought to create a reminder so you know when you're going to talk to them again. So if I were to, let me just grab somebody. So let's say I'm talking, again, this is an agent, so don't write down his phone number, right? So let's say I was talking to David. Up here, I could click on, I have to wait for it to drop down, add a reminder. So I click on this date, and let's say I'm supposed to talk to him next week. And it's a task, a phone call, or a meeting. And I want to say, call to see if he is ready to move. And I click on save. Right, so I've created a reminder. What that does on my dashboard is when I go down, see this reminder? Right, so the dashboard gives me the next week's. It's like a rolling list. So I have this reminder for the person. It says it's a phone call. The X means to delete. The green means to check it off that I've completed it. And if I want to edit it, I would click on that. Put them in the database. Write comments about what you talked about. Create a reminder for when you're going to contact them again. Right? It's the basics. Ben Kinney, again, he talks about the different way to classify people. A+, I call these advanced advocates. People that are likely to refer 1 or 2 people a year to you. He says aim for 25. Wouldn't that be nice? 25 people that would refer 1 person to you. A are try for 100 people that you've gotten referrals, done business, may not be as, they're advocates. B are simply people that you know. And C are unlimited. These are all of the emails and things that you've been creating. The idea is to move people from C to B by communicating with them, from B to A and from A to A+. METS plus touch campaigns equals success. I've mentioned this, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent said 2 sales for every 12. And there's actually some statistics that we have on how many people that you would have and how many contacts you're likely to, how many transactions. So this is a self-evaluation. How many people do you have a database? How many people do you have in it? And if you're getting 2 for every 12, what would that result be? And then it might be good for us to set a goal. One of the things we talk about in coaching, it's good to have a goal and then to track your results, a goal, a plan, and tracking. So this is a good little summary of focus. As soon as you meet somebody new, what you ought to do is get their contact information, add them to the database, write a handwritten note, put them on a touch system with an 8x8 and 33 touch. And then also what you would do if you had a referral. All right, questions?
Yeah, so you're in a social setting and you meet some people, they're really nice, and, you know, maybe you do or you don't talk about real estate, or if you do, it's just very indirect. You know their address. Would it be presumptuous to, would it be presumptuous to write them a note and then put them in your contact database without saying, can I put you in my database?
Well, you could ask them, in RevUp, lesson 1, we have a little script that says, from time to time, I have information about what's going on in the real estate market. Would you mind if I put you on my list? Right? You could ask them that. I think writing somebody a handwritten note that says it was good talking to you the other day, you don't need their permission to do that. All right, so let's look at the action plan. And your assignments. Actually, let's just end with any ahas from today, other than I need a database. Don't everybody blurt them out at once. Any ahas, or was today pretty much just a waste of?
I think it's important to always be looking at your database too.
Yes.
And to make sure you're qualifying everybody and making sure it's up to date as opposed to just
So to go through and look at everybody that's in it and ask yourself, who are these people? Do I know?
reevaluate.
Right.
Every now and then.
I think it's to have a plan, like in advance, to say how to communicate with them. It makes it easier.
It's good to have a plan.
Mhm.
Hope is not a plan. Isn't that, I read that someplace. Any other comments?
Yeah, if like some people you met is just they know you do this business, and always ask you some questions. So